Hi, everybody. My name's Jay Agner. Welcome to the First Customer Podcast. We talk to founders about, you guessed it, how they got their first customer. This episode and every episode is sponsored by my company, JDAQA Software Testing. We're your one-stop shop for manual, automated, performance, and security testing. Check us out at jdaqa.com. And with that, let's get on with the show. Hi, everyone. My name is Jay Agner. Welcome to the First Customer Podcast. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Hesom Parhizkar from AdvizorPro, Plan Pro, whatever you want to call it. We've had a little conversation beforehand. Hesom, welcome, sir. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really good. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. Thank you. You're down in Atlanta, one of my favorite places. Love Georgia. My mom moved down to South Carolina not too long ago, so I definitely, I went to school in Florida, so grew up in Virginia. Big fan of the South. So, have you been there your whole life?
Born and raised, yeah.
Beautiful.
Born and raised.
Beautiful. So let's talk about that. Where did you grow up, and where did you go to high school, and kind of tell me a little about your journey, kind of growing up.
Sure. I grew up about 30 minutes north of the city in Gwinnett County. Went to high school there, Burtmore High School. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. They were known for their basketball program, so that's kind of fun. We almost won state almost every year. So that was, and then from there, I just kind of drove down the street to Georgia Tech for college.
And what'd you go to college for?
Electrical engineering. And this was, I'm gonna date myself, back in '98. Cell phones were becoming a thing. And my dad was like, "Hey, what do you want to go to school to?" I'm like, "Oh, I like cell phones." So electrical was the most aligned. But since then I've been doing computer science.
Okay. And when did you kind of decide that you wanted to go the computer route instead of the electrical engineering route? Because the electrical engineering is a very popular precursor to a lot of computer science folks that I talk to.
Yeah. It's one of the hardest programs at Tech. So was doing that, and within the program there's a lot of programming. My dad is also a developer, so it was kind of seeing what he does. And while I was interning through Tech, I was doing more hardware PC, just kind of setting up PCs, installing software, and just noticed a lot of folks at the company I was at. It was a software company, so developers got the best machines. Developers got top of the line everything. I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And I was kind of installing things for them. And just honestly, one week I just picked up a book and said, "Hey, let me build something." From there, it caught people's eyes. And since then, I've been doing software.
Yeah, I saw you were a software engineer, kind of worked your way up to software manager and then VP of tech and a bunch of other stuff. So walk me through that journey a little bit, from like kind of making the switch to software, and then going in your career.
Yeah. So I was software. I mean, early on at the companies I was at, really, I was much younger than anyone else. So I was the one that if they needed someone to get on a plane to go to a client, it was me. If they needed someone who perceived to wanted to work on the weekends for some big project, it was me, because I just didn't have a family back then. So being in software, it's very, very easy to go above and beyond. So that was my mentality. This is maybe a good thing or bad thing, but I don't want to say software is my hobby, but that coding, like technology is my hobby. So when I was younger, it was great because I was getting paid more than most of my friends and doing something that I loved. So it was kind of a way to win. Being in software, if you excel, if you're kind of one of the best ones in a team, you just get promoted. And that doesn't jive. Your best developer isn't your best manager. So I've seen that time and time again. So for me internally, I wanted to become that person I wanted to become. I had to, again, the architecture stuff, the software stuff I was very good at. I wasn't good at people side. So really dug in there, understanding what makes people tick, essentially. And at the end of the day, how to get projects over the finish line. I was fortunate enough to land at a smaller company called Investment. I was employee number 17. And then we had explosive growth, went to PE backing. So at a software company, being younger and just have the growth was ridiculous. So I was throwing into a lot of things that in theory I didn't sign up for. Hey, go manage a team of 5. Hey, go manage a team of 20. Hey, go do this. Go recruit people. So at the end of the day, we just needed to grow. So whatever I needed to do, whatever my team needed to do, did. So most of my career, I was just thrown into positions that honestly I wasn't ready for.
And do you think that kind of sets you up for success for running a business and owning a business, is kind of having that mindset of always being ready to not be ready?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, some folks come in day to day, like, hey, I know on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this is my what I'm going to do. For me, for a lot of my career, I try to plan, but then I come in Monday and I got to tackle the next thing to help this business grow, whether it be working with a client, whether it be working with the carpet vendor to make sure that the suite is ready. So I don't, like, there is no house at pedestal. Like, I will do whatever it takes to get, at the end of the day, the client happy with us, or happy with the company, happy with me, happy with whatever.
So how long were you at eVestment?
Was there for almost 10 years. It was almost 9 years to the day I came until I left. Employee number 17, I left. We were over 100 million AR and about 450 employees.
Wow. And how did the culture change? Like, I mean, obviously there's a huge shift there. I mean, everybody would kind of assume that, but was it in phases? Like, did you kind of notice it as you went, things like slowly change? Was there some big milestones where things changed along the way? What was the vibe from 17 to 450?
Sure. It was, I mean, we took on funding and things didn't really change. We kept on growing the team. Things were okay. We acquired a couple of companies. Things were okay. It was towards the last couple of years I was there. Things just, I mean, it felt like came to a halt. We were, I mean, essentially going 40, 50 hours, building new product, just whatever we needed to do to grow the company. And in the last couple of years I was there, it was hey, let's, the company is a good size, team is a good size. Let's really get this company kind of ready to sell, which they eventually sold to NASDAQ. But those last couple of years, how I operate, it wasn't, I didn't want to wake up, come to work.
Right.
It was, I don't want to say boring. It felt boring. We had hired some really good individuals. So my teams were kind of self-running. I would come in, I was actually visiting clients at the time. And I was the only one for technology actually making flights, this and that. So that was kind of fun. But at the end of the day, I wanted to get my hands dirty again.
And so when did you leave, prior to the sale or after the sale?
I left about a year prior to the sale.
Okay.
I knew, I think this was I mean, I don't regret decisions I made. If I had a time machine, well, I'll go change things then maybe, but, yeah, I left. I had options that did not pan out. But I knew what I needed to do for my career. I didn't want to just kind of coast. I didn't want to coast. I made a decision to leave, go into an early stage startup as the CTO, as the person to come in and could have kind of full authority to do whatever needed to do with the platform and technology.
And was that what you think you were missing at eVestment after it kind of got to that size? Was like just if things didn't move as quickly as they did when it was smaller?
Yeah, and it was, I mean, things that, I mean, which is, this is fine for businesses, but things that we used to do, like on Saturday, we used to go do this on production, and we got this out, the client was happy with us. Fast forward, if we wanted to do that, we had to get architecture review set up 2 weeks. Then we had to go talk to our global teams about the rollout. So it wasn't that whole mindset shift of like, hey, we got something done, the MVP, it's viable, let's throw it on production and see what happens. Now it has turned to, hey, we have to get marketing team involved because we got to do product marketing. We have to get the global sales team involved because they need to know how to sell this. Which is, again, 100% needed. So I'm not knocking that. It's just with all those parties involved,
right? What
I used to do, what my team used to do, just like things would be shelves for a while. And I like the more instant gratification. I'm going to throw something in production. hey, if the client resonates, we're going to throw more into it. If not, let's kind of cut it and move to our next experience.
Gotcha. So you made the shift from the big kind of hulking company that grew to another really early stage startup. Which one was that? And when did you start doing? I saw some of the kind of adjunct professor kind of teaching stuff along the way, which definitely piqued my interest a little bit. When did that kind of play in?
Sure. That was, I was still in the investment, and that was interesting. So I finished up tech, got my undergrad degree, and in hindsight, I probably should have went back and got my MBA. Honestly, back then I didn't know what an MBA was. I wasn't around folks, so I just knew that, hey, it was going to be a master's. So I was trying to go back to Georgia Tech. I was working full time, and back then, especially EE, if you wanted to go be in the master's program, you had to teach. So it was almost like a full-time commitment. So me wanting to work in the industry, I went to do my master at a smaller school. And it was interesting because, tech is pretty rigorous. So when I started my graduate studies, for example, one for a semester project was equivalent to a week's worth of homework at Georgia Tech from one of my undergrad classes. So again, it was kind of night and day. So it was fairly straightforward. But what I noticed back then, this is about 13, 14, when I was back at school, I was the only ones that was working full time in industry. A lot of my classmates just graduated and just flipped to the master's program, right? So, which is fine. And the professors were really great, but the last time they actually worked in industry was 30 years ago at IBM.
Right.
And software things have changed. So they're telling stories about waterfall development. This is how we do it. And I'm pretty vocal. I'm like, hey, no. This is I'm working on a project today. This is how it is today.
Right. Yep.
In the 2000s. So some professors got annoyed. Some professors gravitated towards it, and they actually wanted me to almost co-lecture. So it was kind of me and them going back and forth with the class. As soon as I graduated, the board of the CS department reached out to me and said, hey, are you interested in teaching? No, not really. Because it's not what I didn't think I would like to do. But I do it at work. I was managing folks, so it's almost like coaching, teaching. So I said, sure, why not? I did a couple of online classes. It was fun because I just treated them first of all, like adults. And secondly, at the end of the day, we had a semester to get this project done. And how do we kind of manage it through it? And in 1 or 2 semesters, I actually did it on campus. That was interesting. I came on, it was a hybrid class. So it was like Tuesdays online, Thursdays on campus. So when I got to campus, I told it was a graduate level database class. I told them, I said, hey, look, content is online, right? I'm not going to sit here and explain. I'm not going to go through PowerPoints for the 15 sessions we have together.
Right.
I want you to use this time as more of like a one-on-one with me, someone who is higher, someone who's in the industry. So we kind of turned that into just a big group discussion about what to expect. Oh, cool, you have an interview class. Let's talk about interview steps. Let's do this. Let's do that. So I think that it was almost like a fireside chat. I would come in, would say, hey, this is a situation, this is a conflict I just encountered. Here's how we did it. So that was fun. And then I did it for a few more semesters after that, and things just got, and I guess state of Georgia, I have a master's degree, and I was teaching graduate level classes. And I've also done undergrad. It's night and day. It's babysitting versus, hey, I'm actually wanting to learn. Right. And I don't know what was going on in the state of Georgia, but I think some of the tenure professors were not happy that folks like me, adjunct, were getting higher ratings, that people wanted to sign up for my class versus their class. So they made a rule that you have to have a PhD to teach master level classes. So at that point, I said, it's not worth it. So.
Right. Wow. Very cool. So talk to me about the early stage startup you went to after investment. Like how long how long of a journey was that before you decided to kind of start your own business?
Sure. I knew, so back at investment in the last few years, I was talking to other startups in the area, and at the time, my wife, we just got pregnant with our second kid, in quotes. Come to find out that was second and third at the same time. So we had twins. So it was, okay. So we had a 3-year-old at home already and twins on the way, and my wife doesn't work. So I was like, okay, do I want to leave this job at investment? I was getting compensated very well, had a lot of flexibility to kind of start over at some startup that was very, very risky. So kind of put plans on pause until the twins are about 18 months. My wife was like, hey, I know you want to kind of do something different. I think financially wise, we're stable. Home wise, we're stable. Go ahead and do it. So I joined a early stage startup. And this is maybe this is how Atlanta works, but the CTO jobs, these higher level jobs, they want experience as a CTO. Right. So like, I don't have experience in CTO, so like I needed someone to give me that opportunity to prove that I could do it. So joining a super early stage startup, I remember the first couple of weeks, it was tough just because I was so used to having folks doing things for me. I had my own CI/CD team. I had my own product team. Now I am everything. So It was kind of different. It was fun. It was fun. I learned a lot. But also, like one of my advices, just I know it's hard to choose where you want to work every single time or who you want to work with. Like I wasn't super bullish on the product. But my skill set, what I did was what the product needed. And we eventually did a pivot away from a B2C offering down to a B2B offering, which really helped company kind of more predictable revenue and things like that versus the marketing spend we're trying to go out and market to the masses.
Got it. So what was next? How long did you stay there? I mean, it seems like it was a big shift. I mean, although you do sound like a, get your hands dirty kind of guy, which you've mentioned a couple of times, right? So it seems like maybe that was what you needed kind of to get back in the saddle a little bit. So how long did that last before you moved on?
Yeah. I was there about 3 years, and just mutually we decided that this isn't something that I could sustain. We were small, we had raised some money, but the focus, we were building a true B2B application that required a product team, that required a QA team, that required operations support team. And the appetite wasn't there to do this. So it all kind of fell on my shoulders, and this was something that I did not want to do kind of long term. So went from there, and at that point it was interesting because it was almost like that proverbial checkbox. Like I checked the box. Hey, I successfully was in a CTO position. So now my mindset, and also I was younger, right? I was younger, and it was like title this, title that. Nowadays I don't care. Like titles are titles, right? So I started looking for, what I was looking for next was I wanted to stick with a smaller company. I didn't really care for the title. But I also wanted to work with someone, CEO or someone in the executive management team that had already sold a startup. That was something that I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand, like, how do you do this? And most likely, or usually, if you're on your second go around, there's going to be some notion of success.
Right.
So, interviewed a couple of places and ended up at a cybersecurity firm in Atlanta as well. The founder had just sold his previous business to a PE firm. So with some of the feedback he got from his previous business, he started this business. It was good. one of the big things I needed was, hey, you can't just hire me and maybe a team overseas. I want to actually build out a team locally. So we negotiated and said, hey, every quarter, as we do sales, as we raise money, we're going to start staffing up your team. All that was all good, but for the first couple of months, it's going to be myself, my offshore team, and then COVID hit. So all that stuff went out the window very, very, very quick. And it was interesting because the whole cybersecurity, COVID, like that, all that stuff, like people wanted more and more. They needed these tools, they needed this software. So honestly, we had maybe 1 or 2 bad months, like March and April. But then after that, we were doing record months. And that kind of reconfigured the budgets. And all of a sudden I saw, hey, we're hiring sales guys left and right. We're hiring marketing guys left and right. I'm raising my hand. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of borderline drowning here in work. Oh, we don't have budget. Who's this new guy? And you start. So there's some of that. And I was there for almost 2 years. When I started, we were 700,000 AER. When I left, we just crossed 2.5 million. So it was, again, in that short time period with the pandemic, that was fairly good. And I was tackling technical debt. I was tackling new features. I was tackling current clients who were very demanding of, hey, I was sold this. Where is this?
Right.
So it was kind of juggling 3 different balls, and I just couldn't. I couldn't get the support needed.
Doesn't sound like it sounds like a story I've heard before. I mean, you can kind of sympathize a little bit, I would think, now as a business, co-founder and stuff, right? Like you want to just keep ratcheting up the ARR every year, and it's like,
sure,
if I'm investing in the bottom line becomes less and less attractive, even though that you have to do it and you need to do it. It's like, let me hire more marketing and salespeople so we can grow the revenue. And I would assume now as a co-founder, maybe looking back on some of these things, do you see them a little differently?
I do. It's funny because you're in the tears, like at real time, you're upset.
Right.
I don't get this, but that, in hindsight, yes, but also there should have been a more open discussion. I don't just kind of say, hey, next quarter, just let me know, because how I could operate at 110%. I could operate at 120%, right? But I can't do that. I could do the spurts. I could do these sprints, right? I can't run a marathon 6-minute miles. And with technology, and also working with folks who don't understand technology well, they just think that, hey, what do you mean this code doesn't work? We wrote it 3 years ago. It was working 3 years ago. Why does it work today? Yeah, because you had 0 clients, now you have 200 clients. Like, things need to be revisited. So it was difficult having these conversations to understand, hey, like, yeah, this has been working. This has made you millions of dollars. But I need $500,000 investment to rewrite this because I can't get to the scale for the next $2 million of those clients. So yeah, yes, at the end of the day, they did sell the company to PE. So, at the end of the day, they won again. He won again. He had a fairly large exit. The company's doing well still. So it's, I got into my emotions like, hey, this is not fair. It's not fair. But now being in that position, I could understand why he did what he did.
Right. Yeah, it's fair. All right. So I think we've made it. Tell me about Planner Pro, or is it Plan Pro or Planner Pro?
Plan Pro.
Plan Pro. So you Plan Professional earlier, right? And so it's AdvizorPro is a product of Planner Pro, I think you were saying, right?
Yes. Yeah. Let me give you the 5-minute story. So Michael and I started Plan Pro back in 2018, unofficially 2017. He approached me. He's like, hey, I have an idea. I have some data. He's a data scientist by trade. So we kind of looked at it, and I was being approached by a lot of folks. Just like, hey, can you work on the side project? Can you work this mobile app? But something about Michael, how he kind of pitched it to me, I was like, okay, this guy is fairly cocky about the idea, which is good. I'll help you. You don't have to pay me, be kind of equity, be nighttime or weekends. I'll help you get an MVP out. So that was a Plan Pro product, which is a 401k prospecting database. So we have all the 401k plans in the United States qualified, and we run some benchmarking. We do a lot of things for the plan. So as a financial advisor, if you're trying to prospect Coca-Cola's pension plan, 401k plan, you have some intel to go to Coca-Cola and say, hey, I noticed that these funds you're in are not good. I can replace all my funds. So we created that. He quit. He quit to do this full time. I was still doing my other CTO, VP engineering jobs, and still kind of really helping nights on the weekend. So we grew that business. It wasn't going to be a multi-billion dollar business. Like the TAM, the total addressable market isn't that great for that product, but it was fun. We were building something. We had a WeWork office. It was great. So we went to a conference, and some of the things we did in Plan Pro was with the qualified plans, we would go out, create algorithms that actually go and scrape the folks you need to talk to, like your head HRs. We got LinkedIn information, we got phone numbers, we got we have information for these folks you need to talk to. We went to a conference back in 2019, and folks are talking to us like, hey, how are you getting this information? Oh, yeah. Have you tried to do this for everyone? What do you mean for everyone? Oh, we're trying to actually work with financial advisors, and there's not much info about financial advisors. Can you build a database of all financial advisors, broker-dealers with the same level of data? So this is right before COVID started. We started building it. And this was we didn't go through, we didn't do market research. We didn't do ROI studies. We didn't do it. We just said, hey, someone at the conference was convinced us we should do it. And we had some devs on the bench, and sure, let's do it. So started building it out. And then lockdown, COVID hit, which is kind of nice because I was working at home. So it wasn't like I had to go in the office. So it was like, hey, I worked my 9 to 5, and then after the kids went to bed or whatever, I would work on this, what we called AdvisorPro. So we started working, so we did that. In August, we started throwing up Google ads. Hey, look, we have AdvisorPro. We have a database of advisors. We have contact data. We have this, we have that. And started getting inbound. And what we found out, there's 2 competitors in the space. One, smaller competitor, not great quality data. And then we had another competitor that was charging a lot and has been around for 20 years. So that's what we were competing with. So we honestly, our first couple of clients were clients that were just looking for an alternative. And I will tell you, that first product we launched wasn't great, but it wasn't great, but we got something out, which is meaningful. I could have sat here and say, hey, I need another year and a half to get something. We would have fell behind. So we threw it out. And it was great because we knew the product needed more love. We knew it needed more love, but we didn't know what love to give it. So we would do Google ads. We'll do these 30-minute demos, and some of these demos weren't good. Some of these demos were not good, but then during the demo, they would say, oh, have you thought about doing this? Oh yeah. No, we haven't. Thank you. So we kind of spent some ad money, some ad spend, but what we got was intel that we didn't count because we don't know the space very well. We're studying it, but we needed someone who's actually prospecting to financial advisors, and honestly, just what worked, what didn't work. So since then, we've been working with our clients, working in process with clients, and now we have one of the best platforms, the best databases in the industry.
So it's a super interesting story. It sounds like your first customers were, like you said, they were kind of feedback mechanisms, but they were also, paying clients, right?
Some we knew they wouldn't be paying clients, but we just needed to get in front of them. Yeah. We just needed the feedback, whether it be positive or negative. We just needed it. So we would spend Google ad money just to get them on the horn. But then we also had some early customers that we also tell, we're pretty transparent, right? We have a small team, and we said that back in the day. Hey, we have a small team. This is kind of a newer initiative for us. Yeah, please pay us the $5,000. We'll split it up however you want it. Please pay us so we can kind of recognize some revenue, but also please just bear with us, and we will pick up your support calls. We have a customer success team, so it's not like you're gonna wire this money to us and good luck. Like, we're gonna be there along the way. And some of those early clients are still with us, and they appreciate that. They appreciate that I will get on a call to understand. It's a small bug or a small enhancement, but I generally, I'm just curious, like, hey, you want this enhancement in the system? You need to explain to me. Like, I understand I need to add this button, I need to add this filter, but explain to me how you're actually going to use it. And at the end of the day, how are you going to make yourself more money by this new feature?
Now, do you find people ever talk themselves out of needing that feature or wanting that feature after you've kind of walked through with them?
Sometimes I'll do a lot of negotiation and say, hey, look, yeah, you want this feature. Yes, this may take us, or just, it won't be prioritized. I can tell you that you're the only one who wants it, won't be prioritized. But if I do 20% of it, and maybe if I do 20% of it in the app, which I could get done in the next 2 weeks, but then also if I give you an export from the back end, will that meet your needs? Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. So it's just putting my product hat on sometimes. It's just all about negotiation, especially back on my dev team and also to our prospects and clients. And I fight this. I don't fight this. I have discussions with the sales team. Hey, this prospect says he's going to sign up if we make this color purple, this button purple. No, they won't. They just, I'll say, hey, if that's the case, let's write in the contract, and as soon as it's signed, within 24 hours, I'll have this in the system. That has worked for us, because a lot of folks want to talk until, like, hey, it becomes real. Then it becomes real on my plate as well.
Yeah, and I think all SaaS company owners will empathize with the balance between being a custom development shop for your clients and building a SaaS product for everybody, right? Yeah. And it's difficult. I will be the first to cross that line.
Right. Because I should be the one fighting it, but I'm the first to cross. If I cross the line, I'm okay with it. My team crosses the line, that's a discussion. I'm not generally okay with it. But what I'm noticing, we're signing up some bigger logos, some bigger names lately, and honestly, it's some of this custom work. I'll be happy to do a custom for a certain client, but with the agreement that this will be turned into if one asset manager is asking for this, most likely another asset manager is wanting to do this. Mm-hmm. So I'll be happy to kind of work with you, client one, to get this kind of vetted out, but then it's not exclusive to you. Mm-hmm. We've talked about the exclusivity clause for one of our clients. We couldn't make it just work economically.
Yeah, it's hard. They don't want to pay as much as it's going to take to make something exclusive like that, typically. Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think took you as long as it did to found this business? Was it just the years of living through, a bunch of different companies, a bunch of different things? Like, what would you have done, or what could you have done maybe to start it earlier?
Sure. I don't know. It's interesting in my head. I need it. Like, I have trouble starting things. I can execute. I can execute all day long. So it's like I sit there. Like on Sundays, my kids have tennis lessons. I just sit there and just like, oh, what's the next idea? What's the next $1 million idea? And it's interesting. I'm not looking for the $1 billion idea. I want the $1 million idea because I think having a couple. If you have a $1 million idea, that's going to be good, right? I don't need that. I don't need to have a unicorn day one. So I think about it. Me in the past, I've spun up entities. Like, I have a consulting entity that, during COVID was growing really, really big. And I decided it's the whole product versus services. Like my consulting entity has made a lot of cash, but at the end of the day, if I ever want to part with it, I'm not going to get a return on it. Versus a SaaS product, one day if this journey is over for us, hopefully we'll get some kind of multiple back. So,
now, do you think? I was going to say real quick. Do you think you learned some of the lessons from that cybersecurity, experience you had with the guy who had the sales? Did you learn from that what you were trying to learn from that?
Sure. Yeah. I think that position really gave me the confidence and just understanding. I had the visibility of how to kind of run a business, how to run a business on all aspects. Before that, at investment, we did a lot. I did learn a lot, but it was kind of almost to a point I needed to try things on my own and needed to kind of almost shadow someone who knows how to talk to investors, knows how to kind of really market the company in that best light. There were some things that, I learned a lot there, but also I learned a lot of what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't all positive. It was okay, some positive, some negative. So kind of day to day, there's been some clients that we're turning away today.
Right.
And that's just having to open that open discussion. Say, hey, we know this client is going to churn. This client's not going to be good. It's not our ideal client. Yeah, they want to pay us a lot of money, but we know internally it's not going to work. So we actually say, hey, no. We're bootstrapped here. We're bootstrapped, so we essentially make the decisions on our own. At former companies, is either VC or PE backed. So there was no rejecting folks who wanted to pay us money.
Right.
So that was a lot of discussions I've had. I'm like, hey, our platform cannot support what this client's looking for, and it's going to take X amount of investments to get to there. Oh, it doesn't matter. They're willing to cut a check. We'll deal with it later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I will deal with it later. So what I've learned in the last couple of years, I'm bringing to the table today. And that's really helping us grow the company that honestly we want to grow.
If you had to start over tomorrow with everything you learned, what would be step one?
Step one would probably be we've made some risky decisions here, and they have to, knock on wood, to pan out for us, right? I would have probably, if we had a couple ideas, do small MVPs and kind of get more feedback from the industry versus just going all in 6 months, building a product and kind of crossing your fingers, hoping it happens. And it's been working. We've been successful. It's working for us, but if I would kind of go back in time, I would have done more of that, potentially also augmenting that with consulting. Like we would have consulted with some of these bigger clients to really pinpoint what they wanted versus us to deciding that, hey, we should filter this way, we should do that. Now let me work with you. Let's get that, and then kind of spin it, package it, and resell it.
Do you mentioned it's always something that I'm kind of like you. I sit around and try to think up, I think a lot of people just think up the next $1 million idea, but mine's typically during hockey practice when I'm freezing in this ice rink, sitting there thinking, how do I get out of this?
How do you get out of here?
How do I get back to the sunshine? But that market research side, I think, is very intimidating, and I think it's very scary, and it's very it's just the unknown, right? So then you mentioned the SEO kind of thing, and you did, or not the SEO, the Google Ads thing, where you got some feedback. But if you were going to start this out tomorrow and get some MVPs out there, how would you go solicit that feedback from the market?
Yeah, I would say, again, let's say we're in 2023. All right, so we start over 22 these days. I would definitely have some budget for Google Ads. Just kind of like throw a starter page out there, and coming soon, XYZ, get some traffic to that. Also, LinkedIn. I've been doing a lot of video on LinkedIn and just kind of following the group you want to kind of sell into. and just being almost like, hey, we're industry leaders in XYZ. Like I have a lot of fintech experience. So if I'm going to work at another fintech, I just want to be kind of very almost transparent about it and just talk about it. Say, hey, we had an idea. We talked to these 3 prospects, almost kind of solicit that way, but also bring it down to a human level. That, hey, we're just trying to build cool stuff. And my mentality, which is, I know it's weird being a business owner. Like I rather, like if I had the choice to help the customer and getting paid, I'm going to help the customer. Like I'm a true believer. If you work your ass off, like you will be compensated. Like good things will happen to you. So there's been, so really finding what that problem is and tackling that problem versus like, I see a lot of folks, entrepreneurs think there's a problem and build some solution around the problem, but there is no problem, or the problem isn't big enough to have someone pay any money for. So that's your biggest thing. You have a problem that's kind of annoying enough that someone is willing to pay to fix. From that, then hopefully do some consulting, and then start kind of like you could solve with 3 or 4 different clients. Like, oh, here's something common between these 3 or 4 clients. Let's take this out and kind of now start promoting some new software, understanding that you might have very, very negative feedback or just might have no feedback. And like, what metrics? Like what metrics do you use to say, hey, I'm willing to go and drop $50,000 in development if we get 18 likes on LinkedIn? Yeah. And that are not your mom and dad. So that's where it's difficult. It's kind of putting yourself out there. But if it resonates, it resonates in a good way. Does it resonate? Like that's where you have to kind of make a kind of gut decision.
Yeah. I've said it before, but I think one of my favorite product quotes or lessons is, you can disprove something before it's in production in your customer's hands, but you can't prove it until it's in their hands, right? Like you never really know unless somebody's taking their credit card out and paying you money. You really can't validate, or you can think you have the best idea in the world, but unless somebody's willing to pay you for it, you might just be wasting a lot of your time and money. So I think those are good thoughts.
Talk is cheap.
Yeah,
talk is cheap.
Talk's free, man.
Talk's free, and I've been in a couple of situations that you don't want to be mean to someone, so you say, "Oh, it's a great idea." Like, no, like I'd rather you be mean and tell me it's a shitty idea.
Right.
I think that goes a long way versus. Hey, it's a good idea.
Yeah, especially when people are serious about building products. I think it's you're not doing them a favor by being nice. Right. So let's switch gears a little bit. What are 3 kind of things, you're trying, you got some kids. How many kids do you have? 3 in total?
Yeah, 3 kids. Okay. Yeah, 10, 7, and 7. Yeah.
All right. So you're obviously trying to be around for them as long as possible. What are 3 kind of things longevity-wise you're trying to do to kind of keep yourself healthy?
Yeah, it's all, number 1 is knowing when to unplug. I have trouble with that. It's kind of 24/7. So just understanding when to unplug and just kind of understand what pockets to unplug with, like when. So that's kind of number 1. Number 2, I don't know if this is more of a healthy, but what I've noticed is I have a lot of content in my head. I'm not the person who will go out and do speaking engagements. I'm not great at kind of like when I was teaching, I was good at it, but I don't have that forum anymore. So what I've been doing is it's helping me not think about the business 24/7 is generate content from LinkedIn. Like I'm just generating content, just getting on the video, just kind of just talking almost like to myself about like what's LinkedIn. I'm trying to do like, hey, candidate tips. Like, hey, if you want to be hired, here's what to do, what not to do. I have a lot of experience there. So it's honestly helping me, I think mentally, not having to think about AdvizorPro 24/7, Plan Pro 24, our clients. It's like, hey, I want to come in and this is where the social media, this is what social media is. Like, I want the likes. I want the comments. I want the feedback. So I can't just put anything out there. So it takes time. So what I've been doing, the way to work, go to Starbucks, posting up there, just thinking about not work, but thinking about how I can kind of still help our industry and community. And then the third thing is just the general Patience. I mean, not. I struggle with this sometimes, but not everyone is me. Honestly, I don't want three of me. I think if I have three of me, this would be disastrous. So, but also understanding that folks have different backgrounds. Also understanding folks have different agendas. All right, so like I'm a co-founder here, so like my agenda is to grow this company, right? If you're not a co-founder, if you're not a founder, like your agenda may be to work with this company for 2 years, get the required skills, and go to the next company, right? I can't fault you for that. I was there also, but that's where my patience has come in. Like, hey, why aren't you working on Saturday, Sunday? Like, we're the startup. Well, that's not my goal is not that. Like, I work on Saturday, Sundays because it's something I physically want to do. No one's making me do it. So understanding that I'm not. Everyone doesn't think like me.
Yeah. Those are 3 great tips.
Thank you.
And 2 of them are brand new. Creating content.
Nice.
And patience are both. And the last one, I have 5 kids, so patience is something I really have to work on.
Yeah.
But those are all great. So one last thing, and I need like a sounder for this, but I do have a mystery question that I ask every week.
Sure.
So I'm curious, what is one thing you would do, anything in the world, physical, mental, altruistic, whatever you want to be, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
Interesting. I mean, this sounds cliche, but I mean, if I knew I kind of failed, I'll play the NBA.
There it is, dude. See, another first. I never heard playing the NBA. That's a good one. That's a good one.
If I can't fail, I'll play in the NBA.
I love it, dude. Well, you can't fail in that scenario. You'll go be, you could be the next Michael Jordan if you want. So you can't fail.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a brand new one for me. All right. So that was great. Let's wrap it there. If people want to find you, what's the best way to do if they want to find any of your companies or what you're working on? What's the best ways to reach you?
I would say LinkedIn is probably my primary go out of content. So just follow me and kind of follow along.
Okay. And what's the website, or do you guys for AdvizorPro or for Planner Pro? What's the websites for those?
Yeah, it's AdvizorPro with a Z. www.advisorpro.com, and then the other one is planprofessional.com.
Okay, awesome, dude. Well, you're an awesome dude. I wish you a lot of success. I hope you guys keep growing and keep doing your thing. So I'll put all your info in the notes, and I really appreciate your time today. And we'll catch up again soon. All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Have a good rest of your day, man. I'll talk to you. See you.
You too.